Well, good morning, man. It is June the 12th. And so we turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, for God's daily dose of wisdom. And as I was reading through Proverbs chapter 12, verse 3 jumped off the page, and it reads like this: A man will not be established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will not be moved. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. What is he talking about? Well, Solomon is continuing on this journey with us of talking about the benefits and the problems between good and evil. And this is a verse that he contrasts and says, a man will not be established by wickedness. What does that mean, to be established? Well, that word established actually means to be secure. And so he contrasts that with the root of the righteous will not be moved. So he's talking about the differences between good and evil in a general sense. But Jesus actually takes this idea up a notch. And he says this is at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. He has been talking to all these people, and he says these words kind of as a closing, kind of as a bow around everything. He says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them may be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house. And yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the floods came, the winds blew and slammed against that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. He takes it up a notch because he says, not only is in a general sense of good and evil things that you need to consider, the fact that if you're evil and you're chasing after evil things, you will not be established, you will not be secure. He says, if you follow after me, you are building your house on the rock. It's not just enough to be good. What he says is, you need to follow after me. You need to hear these words of mine and act on them. It's the word, if he was speaking in Hebrew, it would be the same word, shema, which is to listen and to hear with an attitude of obedience. In fact, the shema is a prayer that is repeated every day, multiple times during the day by the Jewish people, because it says, hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and all your strength. Guys, that's hearing with an attitude of obeying, being ready to obey, being quick to obey. So Jesus is saying, following after me is the key. It's not enough to be good. What you need to do is you need to hear these words of mine and you need to act on them. And if you do, it'll be like your house was built on a rock. Notice something else that he says here in Matthew chapter 7. He says, the rain fell, the floods came, the winds blew and slammed against that house. What is he talking about there? He's talking about the struggles and the difficulties of life. They come to everybody. They come to the righteous as well as the unrighteous. If you come to Jesus and you think that your life is going to be changed to the extent that you're never going to have any problems anymore, you're sadly mistaken. And unfortunately, that's a message that's been put out there that is really a false message. That's not the gospel. The gospel is that God is going to be with you through all of that. And if you keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, then you will survive the rain falling and the floods coming and the winds blowing and everything slamming against your house. In spite of the fact that we have troubles and tribulation in this world, you will survive. Not only that, but you will thrive. In fact, Jesus says these words out of John chapter 16, verse 33. These things I've spoken to you, so that in me you may have peace. Notice, it's in Jesus that we have peace. not in the world, not in our things, not in our jobs, not in our marriage, not in anything, but in Jesus we have peace. And then he says this, in the world you have tribulation, but take courage. I have overcome the world. So he's calling us to follow after him in a closer, more intimate way. He's calling us to keep our eyes on him so that we can thrive in this broken world. My brothers and sisters, I love each and every one of you. And I pray that you go out and you make a difference in someone's life today. God bless you.